WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and Accra, 1 p.m. in Porto Novo. Good afternoon and thank you for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide at WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink. First, the headline stories. Senegalese react with mixed views as President Diomaye Faye marks 2 years in office. Prime Ministers of Algeria and Niger hold talks in Niamey to revitalize bilateral cooperation.
Our two heads of state have issued firm instructions to move forward.
A Malian court sentences journalist Sissoko to 2 years in prison for publishing an alleged defamatory article. And Guinean government to introduce electronic payment system to resolve liquidity crisis. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is Sankulu Jibril Janko.
Many thanks for joining us. This edition of Newslink begins in Senegal with reactions from citizens as President Bassirou Diomaye Faye marks 2 years in office. From delayed promises to the rising cost of living and perceived political rift, opinions are mixed with a splash of hope and optimism. Elected in 2024 on a wave of high expectations for change, Diomaye Faye is now being judged on his manifesto for the new Senegal project. Here is a report by Augustine Coley.
As evening falls, downtown Dakar is buzzing. Buses fill up as people rush home. Leaning against a kiosk, newspaper in hand, Alassane Diallo, in his 50s, does not hide his disappointment. 2 years after the election, he believes the president is still struggling to deliver.
What's not working first is that there needs to be agreement and understanding among them, but that's not the case. We also know that they are not professionals in this field. They should at least consult with those who have experience, the former ones, to help find proper solutions, especially at the checkpoints. It seems that's what is still preventing things from moving forward.
For El Haj Malik Sek, the priority is clear: security, an issue he says is still not being adequately addressed.
Senegalese people are behind him, but he must understand that times are tough, especially for young people. Many want to work but cannot find jobs. He needs to pay close attention to this situation. Another key issue is security. We are asking him to focus more on it. Sometimes we hear news that worries us. He really needs to address security.
2 years into his presidency, Bassirou Diomaye Faye is walking a fine line, trying to meet expectations without disappointing the electorate. A mandate still taking shape under the close watch of the Senegalese people.
Augustine Coley with that report. Meanwhile, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye of Senegal departed Dakar for Spain this Tuesday for an official visit. The two-day trip aims to strengthen long-standing ties between the two countries. President Faye is expected to hold high-level talks with Spanish authorities, focusing on boosting cooperation in key sectors such as the economy, energy, education, and sustainable development. The visit also seeks to open new partnership opportunities while reinforcing existing projects. It underscores Senegal's commitment to deep political, economic, and cultural relations with Spain, a long-time partner in areas including trade, security, and migration. In Benin, the main opposition party is undergoing a major shake-up following a wave of resignations in recent days. After a weekend meeting, Noureno Achade was appointed as the new head of the party. The Democrats have also announced they will not issue any voting instructions ahead of the upcoming presidential election. The developments have quickly sparked reactions across the country. Let's join Christopher Atichu for more.
The opposition Democrat Party received the resignation of its National Communications Secretary, Gay Mitokwe, over the weekend. His departure comes just weeks after the sudden exit of party leader Boni Yaye and his son Chabi Yaye. Mitokwe says he left the party along with several other members, moves that are raising many questions. Some analysts believe the wave of resignation points to internal tensions. Political analyst Cosme Keke says the departures are significant, revealing deep strategic divisions within the party, particularly ahead of upcoming elections. Meanwhile, the election of Nurinu Ashade as the new party leader is being seen as a turning point that could revive the movement. His main challenge will be to restore unity and reposition the party on the national political stage.
A report by WDR's Aziz Adam Sule in Cotonou and presented by Christopher Aticho. In Mali, journalist Yusuf Sissoko's husband sentenced to 2 years in prison and fined 1 million CFA francs. The ruling was delivered on Monday by the Cybercrime Court. The publisher was prosecuted for an article deemed defamatory against Nigeria's President General Abdurrahman Tiani, published a few months ago. The decision has sparked reactions from the Association of Private Press Publishers. More details with Imo Edet.
A court specialized in cybercrime offenses has sentenced journalist Yusuf Sissoko to 2 years in prison instead of the 5-year term in indignation, warning of what it described as a troubling setback for press freedom. The group says the ruling sets a dangerous precedent and could further weaken the media sector, calling on authorities to ensure a safe environment for free and responsible journalism.
Imo Edet reporting.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Still in the Sahel, Algerian Prime Minister Sifi Ghuraib is on an official visit to Niger. He arrived in Niamey on Monday, where he was welcomed by his counterpart Ali Mohamed Lamine Zain. Key issues of mutual interest, including the economy and energy, are expected to dominate talks today, Tuesday. Abdullah Hassan has more in the following report.
Algerian Prime Minister's visit to Niger is part of the framework of the Algeria-Niger Joint High Commission for Cooperation. During this session, officials will address a range of issues of common interest. Ali Mohamed Lamine Zain is Niger's Prime Minister.
Our two heads of state have issued firm instructions to move forward decisively, efficiently, and quickly in implementing our major projects of shared interest. Among these key projects highlighted in the second session of the Joint High Commission are initiatives in infrastructure, energy and production, hydrocarbons, transport, health, agriculture development, and technical and vocational training.
The meeting in Niamey also aims to strengthen the strategic partnership between the two countries and boost coordination on regional issues, promoting stability and development in the area. Military and security cooperation is a key focus to combine efforts to combat insecurity, according to Algeria's Prime Minister Sifi Ghuraib.
The main goal that brings us together today is to turn the political momentum driven by the leaders of our two countries, President Abdelmadjid Tebboune of Algeria and his brother President Abdurrahman Tiani of Niger, into realistic projects and tangible results on the ground, directly benefiting our two nations and our fraternal peoples, particularly in the border regions, which form a natural space for cooperation and integration.
This joint commission comes just over a month after Nigerian President General Abdurrahman Tiani visited Algiers, where he discussed several projects with his Algerian counterpart Abdelmadjid Tebboune. Among these is the revival of the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline project previously paused, which is expected to resume soon on Nigerian soil.
WDR's Yakuba Habibullah in Niamey with that report voiced by Abdullah Hassan. Crossing over to Guinea, the liquidity crisis remains a major concern, forcing authorities to consider alternatives. The discussion involves economic operators and key players in the nation's financial sector. Among the measures being considered, the Central Bank of Guinea plans to inject a significant amount of cash into circulation. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Economy and Finance is promoting the digital payment platforms to ease pressure on physical cars. Usman Omar has more on this report.
New talks are underway to address the liquidity crisis that has persisted for several weeks, raising growing concern among consumers. To tackle the situation, the governor of the Central Bank of Guinea, Karamo Nabe, has announced plans to inject a significant volume of banknotes into circulation.
Out of every 100 banknotes we put into circulation today, only 6 come back. That's the reality we need to understand. There is a real effort to inject cash, and we will continue to do so. But we also need to work on getting money back into the system. That requires restoring trust. The goal is to rebuild confidence among Guineans so they deposit their money in banks. Ultimately, there is no way around banking.
Another solution being considered is the digitalization of the payment system. The Minister of the Economy and Finance, Mariama Sire Saila, says the move aims to reduce the heavy reliance on cash and promote electronic transactions.
At the state level, we will also work to accelerate the digitization of payment systems and modernize the way people pay. This will include initiatives through the Treasury, such as Trezor Pay. Beyond that, we will engage with various electronic money institutions in discussions to facilitate and speed up the adoption of new technologies and digital payments among the population.
Meanwhile, the National Chamber of Commerce has pledged to raise awareness among economic operators, urging them to stop hoarding cash and to work more closely with commercial banks to improve money circulation in the economy.
Usman Omar with that report by our Conakry correspondent Cherno Alpha Ibrahim Balde. Elsewhere, the Gambia is hosting a high-level regional meeting to accelerate the development of carbon markets across West Africa. A 3-day event brings together delegates from 16 countries along with experts and development partners to discuss the region's readiness to engage in global carbon markets. Organized by the Ministry of Environment in partnership with the West African Alliance on Carbon Markets and Climate Finance, the conference runs from March 23 to 25, 2026. WDR's Banjul correspondent Sang Donald Mendu reports.
The gathering convenes representatives from 16 North African countries and key partners, marking a crucial step towards enhancing the region's role in global carbon markets and climate finance. Speaking at the official opening, the Minister of Environment and Natural Resources, Rohi John Manjang, underscores the importance of carbon markets as a tool for tackling climate change while supporting sustainable development and economic growth in the region.
From coastal erosions to droughts and flooding, our countries are on the forefront, yet we contribute the least to global emission. This imbalance is unfortunate and should motivate our collaborative efforts in international negotiations and also interest building towards solutions.
Convened in the context of post-COP30 developments and growing global momentum around international carbon cooperation mechanisms, the event reflects a shared commitment among West African countries to strengthen regional coordination and position the region as a credible and proactive actor in global carbon markets. Osman Falsar is coordinator of the West African Alliance.
Today, this initiative is growing beyond West Africa and is inspiring as a region, gaining recognition and contributing to shaping Africa's voice in global carbon markets.
Meanwhile, discussions in the coming days are expected to address key challenges and opportunities in implementing Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, which provides a framework for countries to collaborate in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Sangdana Mendy, reporting from Banjul.
You're listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Senegalese react with mixed views as President Faye marks 2 years in office. Prime Ministers of Algeria and Niger hold talks in Niamey to revitalize bilateral cooperation. A Malian court sentences journalist Sissoko to 2 years in prison for publishing an alleged defamatory article. Guinean government to introduce electronic payment systems to resolve liquidity crisis. Still ahead in the news, Nigerian government announces launch and rollout of HIV prevention. We also have press review, guest interview, and sport news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
And now talking health, authorities in Nigeria are set to launch and roll out thousands of newly introduced HIV prevention drugs. The 52,000 doses recently received by the federal government are intended to reduce new infections by using long-acting injectable drug. Health authorities say the intervention is expected to strengthen Nigeria's HIV response and improve access to preventive care. Abuja correspondent Yechinu Sasieto has more in this report.
Lenacapavir, also known as Len-Prep, is administered twice a year, providing a more convenient alternative to daily oral preventive medications. Speaking about the initiative, the Minister of State for Health, Dr. Isiaq Adekunle Salako, emphasized the benefits of the injectable treatment, noting its potential to significantly reduce new HIV infections.
It is a discreet prevention option for key and vulnerable population because you have to go back and forth to the facility, and a safety profile that is comparable to existing oral PrEP options.
Minister Salako also provided updates on the rollout, stating that preparations are underway to ensure access to the medication across health facilities.
This includes the review of policies and guidelines to align with regulatory and programmatic requirements, data-driven selection of states for the implementation, quantification and procurement of commodities, alignment and obtaining relevant regulatory licenses and waiver from NAFDAC, Ministry of Finance, and also through NREG approval of a research protocol.
Meanwhile, the Director General of the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, Temitope Ilori, cautioned that the new injection should not replace existing preventive measures.
They're sounding this note of warning to say that it does not prevent sexually transmitted infections. It does not prevent other infections like hepatitis and other infections, but it is very efficacious in preventing you from coming down with HIV.
Health authorities say the introduction of Len-Prep represents a significant advancement in Nigeria's HIV prevention efforts, while stressing the importance of using a combination of strategies to curb the spread of the virus effectively. For WADR, Yechinu Sasieto in Abuja.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
We have been joined by our Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker for today's press review.
This edition features 3 local dailies. We begin with the New Dawn newspaper, and it goes with these stories. Who controls the Makona River border? On the left side of this paper are soldiers from Liberia, and on the right are soldiers of Guinea. And ex-combatants send stronger message to Guinea amid border tension. Our next stop is front page Africa newspaper with these stories. Sources: Bouaka seeks France intervention as Guinean troops, custom officers deployed on Liberian soil. Seeking Macron's help? There's a question being asked, and the front page Africa is reporting that according to sources familiar with this matter, the Liberian leader's alleged move is now being framed as a departure from regional diplomacy rather as a strategic reinforcement of his promise to seek diplomacy over confrontation. Funding cuts, weak oversight, and hidden traps. Experts signed their alarm on Liberia's new U.S. health deal. Our final stop is the Independent newspaper with these stories. LPRA secures U.S. support for offset growth. And Monrovia considered data school system voluntary teachers protest. Well, That does it for this edition of Press Review from Liberia's capital, Monrovia, and thanks so kindly for listening.
Many thanks to Abraham Parker for the Press Review.
Politics,
Analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest is Dr. Ibrahim Khan, a Senegalese governance expert. Khan provides a critical assessment of President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's leadership, governance, and rebuilding trajectory as he marks 2 years in office today, March 24. Diomaye Faye was elected in 2024 after promising swift transformation reforms to address immediate challenges citizens face, such as the increasing cost of living, unemployment, and alleged corruption, among others. But how far has he gone in delivering the deliverables? Well, Khan speaks.
2 years is too short, and also given the kind of promise that were made and the expectation of the Senegalese people, I think it's really too short to have a real assessment of what the president has done and has not done. We are not even at the half of his term, so I think it's just very difficult to really do a very good assessment. The only thing that I can say at this stage that despite the economic problem that we discovered, particularly last year, about the Senegalese debt, there are a number of initiatives that were taken that give you some hope that something will happen. Renegotiation of contracts, the fact that Senegal has redefined its relationship with France, the problem of Charoy, that we know more now about our own history during the colonial period. These are some of the few things that at least give you hope.
But at the macro level, I think this is where somehow the expectations from the Senegalese people and perhaps the pace or nature of work of the presidency clash.
Definitely, they are very slow. For me, it's the reality that we are living. But why we are very slow? I think one of the reasons we are very slow is that nobody knew the exact economic situation of Senegal. That's one. Now we're discovering that our debt is more than 150% of our GDP. Any government who lives in that condition will have a serious problem. The second issue to me is that so far there is no real plan about the transformation. Any transformation will start by the transformation of the structure of the state. We had 3 important meetings about the reforms: reform of the political institution, reform of the justice system, and reform of our education system. The president last December, at the end of the year, promised that before March, the parliament will start examining some of the bills that they will put forward about constitutional reform and other stuff. We are at the end of March. Nothing has happened.
So, sir, where are we at this juncture? Because across other platforms, the debate has been either the lack of inexperience on both sides or the fact that there is a growing conflict of interest that is further widening the gap in terms of coordination within the executive and especially the legislature.
I think it's deeper than that. When they came to power, they made a big announcement about the strategy Senegal 2050. But we have not seen any document. When I say a document that can give you even the cost of all the transformation that will be happening. And we can understand why they are struggling, because when PASTEF started to develop all these strategies, they were fighting also with Macky Sall. Most of the leadership were in jail, and the organization was even dissolved by the then government. So I think that can be understood. But now the problem is they are in power. They have to find a way of trying to deal with all these issues.
For how long do you think the population would endure and understand and perhaps remain hopeful for a change to come, or otherwise, who knows, call for a change?
It's a very difficult question to answer given the reality of Senegal at the moment. The country, we have a lot of poor people. And those poor people elected this generation to sort out their problem. And so far, nothing has been sorted out. And I think we will reach a level where people are fed up with the current situation and people will decide to have another generation of leaders. That's one thing. The second one is that we are in the context, regional context, now global context of insecurity. And what will be the impact of that global or regional insecurity situation on the problem that we are facing in Senegal? Nobody knows. Take the Sahel situation. People now at the border with Senegal and Mali. So we need to find another approach. And I think for me, our political class is really very clever. They need to come up with a kind of consensus on what needs to be done for the country for this for the next 10 years. Is it education? Is it health? Is it infrastructure? Is it digitalization of the state? All these issues are important. But if we don't have consensus in the society about the way forward, we won't be able to take any step. And my last point is we need to stop this fight at the highest level of the state. For me, it's no longer about power. It's about resolving people's problems.
Dr. Ibrahim Khan is a Senegalese governance expert. Well, in the world of sports, Senegal has officially taken its Africa Cup of Nations title dispute with the Confederation of African Football CAF to the Court of Arbitration for Sports (CAS), appealing the decision to award the Morocco title. CAF overturned Senegal's 1-0 victory in January final after ruling that a late walkover by Senegal players breached tournament rules, awarding Morocco a 3-0 win. A member of the Senegalese FA, Moussa Mbaye, confirmed the appeal, stating the move was made carefully to protect the country's interests. CAS will now review the case, with the outcome expected to have major implications for the disputed title and future decisions in African football. And in other sporting news, Nigerian international Alex Iwobi has been recognized on the 2025 Football Blacklist for his outstanding contribution off the pitch, highlighting his growing influence beyond football. The Fulham midfielder is being celebrated for his community-driven initiatives, including football tournaments, mentorship programs, and support projects aimed at empowering underserved communities. Football Blacklist, established in 2008, celebrates the achievements of black figures across football, both on and off the field. We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West African Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Mauro Ju for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms X, Instagram and Facebook at WADR English. Also stream live at wadr.org. Do join Demba Amaran at 1 p.m. for the second edition of News in French Info Chevo. I am Sankule Jibril Janko. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.